So tomorrow and Monday is going to be a very big day for Marvel's Avengers, because of course this has been the full stretch, the full 12 months on something that we've been waiting for that feels like a decade, right? It's the Black Panther DLC. The devs teased it again on the official Play Avengers Twitter account, saying 2 days until you can play Black Panther. But of course tomorrow is that deep dive video where I guess every single platform of theirs is just going to be flooded with tons and tons of information on this DLC. But what is actually interesting is there is still quite a few mixed feelings in the community, because in my community tab poll yesterday I asked you guys, will Marvel's Avengers make a comeback? Now so far, out of around 9,000 of you guys, 46% of you said yes, 39% of you said 50-50, and 16% of you guys said absolutely not. So I decided we'd actually take into account the 39% and the 46% to see how people really feel about this DLC, right? Because that's a pretty even number almost. So I read the comments, and this is where we kind of need to, I guess, come to the overall conclusion on what we have seen up until today. I'm not talking about tomorrow or Monday, I'm talking about today, right? Every bit of information, all the skins and everything that we've seen, is it really enough to bring back Marvel's Avengers? So I read the comments and I wanted to bring up a few of them that I thought had quite a lot of relevancy as to why people feel 50-50, and also talking from my own experience. Now, so far, I do just want to quickly say, everything in my opinion looks like it's just been really nailed down, right? It is definitely the biggest DLC drop I think we will ever get for a very long time, and because of that reason alone, it's their only one shot to bring the game back. So in the comments, some of you guys said, for example, it says they'll only make a comeback if they consistently release new characters and interesting content. Now that is a really important comment, because it's something that I do genuinely relate to. It's something I've been talking about for a while as well in the last couple of videos, where I've said, although this DLC is living up to the standards and it is by far one of their best looking DLCs, and I have no doubt that it will basically live up to our expectations, there is only so far that DLC can of course take the game in general. Now, a lot of you guys were saying that your fear is that the DLC drops, it has a lot of players into the game, things are going smooth, right? New skins in the game, new missions, etc, etc, and then it just kind of full circles back to where the game was prior to this Black Panther DLC build-up, which of course is content feeling very, very repetitive. Now, the only thing I disagree with in this comment is the fact that there is the element of adding new characters into the game, which will always be a perk, right? It will always make things a lot more interesting, but as far as like the main characters go, in the sense of like people building their team, etc, right now, it's kind of like at an okay level. The only thing that I truly believe it lacks in big time is the content element of it. Now sure, you have things like the hives, etc, etc, and yes, they are fun, but there's definitely that, you know, extent to where it gets really, really repetitive. But equally saying that, you know, we've got the UI update on Tuesday as well, which again is going to just make your whole gameplay experience way more different to what it is right now at this moment in time. And one thing that I genuinely feel that, I guess as the saying would go, you know, putting my eggs in the same basket or in one basket, right, is going to be the fact that I'm relying on their whole Wasteland Patrol game mode, which of course is the free element, or free roam element should I say, to the game, where you can just roam about on any map and then of course go ahead and, you know, battle random enemies that will spawn up, and then you find random gears or like treasure boxes, etc, etc. So it's like you take all of this stuff into account, and it's like if that could really be leveraged well, in the sense of they go ahead and do that for every single map, except the free roam element to the game is actually interesting, in the sense of it does feel like a free roam experience and not like a scenario where you're having to just hunt around the map for certain things, like, you know, going by objectives. then I think it can work very well, and that piece of content can definitely give that longevity in any video game, especially right now in a live service game. Now, equally, right, what is important is, I believe this, to date, is the only live service game to really go ahead and roll out a full, rework out of like the whole, system in general, right? The new UI, the gear slots, etc., like everything that is being reworked, we haven't really seen in a live service game. The only thing that has jeopardized this game, in my opinion, is the fact that, to begin with, it was a live service game. I've always believed that live service games are way more harder to pull off, as opposed to, just giving you an example, imagine if Insomniac Games made Marvel's Avengers in a similar structure like they did with Spider-Man. Sure, the game would actually come to an end, but then equally, if it had a multiplayer experience, possibly not. It could have actually had that longevity to it, but hopefully you guys get what I'm trying to say here, because as far as the devs working on this game, everything they've done is absolutely incredible, right down to the combat, the whole characters in general, and of course now they're working on the skins being way more different. They've really hit the nail on the head on that. It's just the fact that you can only go so far as a with a live service game, right? Until you hit a brick wall and there's almost, no other direction you can really go down. Now, again, going back to a few of the other comments, it really comes down to people feeling as if they're not going to get more content after this, and that it's just very much going to be a matter of them plugging the marketplace, where it's like new skins and it's a whole microtransaction scenario. And I think that's where a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines, because if it was very clear in that element, I think it would have been different, but the way people feel is only what they've experienced, right? So again, it comes down to your personal preference. So my conclusion on how I feel as a consumer of the game in general, and having been around since the launch of the game right to where we are right now, it is safe to say that the game has made an incredible comeback in the sense of what the game had at launch versus what the game had now. The only thing that, like I said, I am relying on, in fact, are two things. The roadmap playing a very big role, because that's going to tell me if this game is worth even sticking around for over the next year, for example, right? And second of all is the patrol mode, and that just basically being kind of like what I have visually, imagined in my own mind. And like I said, that's just not having that repetitive, feel to it. So as long as I can get a really good roadmap that gives me a clear sense of direction to where the game is heading, and of course things like that balance out of each other and it works good in a content aspect of things, then yes, I would say the game, this Black Panther DLC was enough to allow Marvel's Avengers to have the opportunity of making its comeback. But equally, because it's a one-off DLC and I know it's going to definitely live up to the hype, it just comes down to, every player feeling the way they do, on what's going to go down after. So leave your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. That's basically my conclusion. I know tomorrow's going to be a big day, Tuesday. In fact, the entire week is going to be absolutely huge. It's just a matter of seeing how it all plays out after that moment in time. Can the community stay really engaged? That's the big question, in my opinion. But guys, I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day. And until the next one, adios amigos.